Okay, my name is Ron Glasgow. Who knows me? Everybody knows me, I guess, right? Okay. And this is a program I put on last June for the Historical Society, and this is a repeat. So that's why it says June and not September. I've got a lot of shots here from cars from people who volunteered pictures from the town of Fabius program here. And I shot a lot of these, I copied a lot of these using my digital camera. So it's not as clear as some of the scanned ones. But I think the farther back you get, the probably easier it is to see it, I hope. Anyway, to start out with, I gotta tell you why, because this is my show. I gotta tell you how I got interested in cars and why I'm interested in cars. And it goes back to the guy in the middle of this cart. That's my dad. My dad passed away last February. And that's Dad at age 7. This picture was taken in the front of his house, which is on our farm. Those are our barns right there. Taken in the spring of 1924. So he was a young pup there. And fascination with cars, that was their little go-kart, as they called it. Okay, and that's why there's a license plate on there. And that plate was the plate that was on their father's 1923 Model T touring car. That was my grandfather's first car on the road, I guess. And by the way, the other people are, to your left is Randall Glasgow, Dad's older brother. And to the right is Merton Radway, who left some time ago, but Elman's younger brother. Can all of you read the license plate on there? Debbie, what's the number on that? 490730. 490730. So I still have the plate from my grandfather's Model T, okay, 1923. This is about all I have left to that car. It seems that my dad and his brother Randall always tore cars apart. Don't know why. They donated the engine to Bob Assa, and got burned up in the shop down here at the school when it burned up in 1957, I think it was, the original ag shop. So anyhow, that's how I got started because of my dad's interest. And he passed it down, and of course, I passed it on too, right, Jennifer?
Yeah.
So I have to show you me. That's me at age about 12 with a 57 Chevy station wagon, which of course I still have. That was the first 57 that I had, and I became known as a 57 Chevy person. And I had this picture trying to figure out how old I was in that shot. And of course, with the first shot, the license plate, I've got the plates off of that car too. Both of them. Nice condition, 195 CG. And of course, my dad always liked to have these plates because he, every year back then, you got new license plates. And you usually got them from your county seat. And if you got them from Onondaga County, it was usually like SY or SR or something like that, or just plain S. The dad's plates he got from Elmira, which is in Chemung County, because this is probably one of the original vanity plates. He got his initials, Clarence Glasgow, on the plates. So he sent to Chemung County to get his initials. So I've got strings of license plates with CG on them. But this is 57 Chevy number 1. You'll probably hear that more as we go through the show here. And you missed the show in June when I did this. I had door prizes, and I don't really have door prizes now because I didn't know what to expect for an audience here. But I had these numbers up here, and people were to guess how many 57 Chevys have I had. And Bill, this is a little bit off center. Is there some way you can adjust this? Like there's a number missing on here, it's cutting off parts of the car. JR?
We've been having...
No, it's shifting to the right. Do you know how that worked? Okay. Anyway, there's a number in 57. But since you don't have the whole number, anybody want to take a guess how many 57 Chevys I've owned in my lifetime? They range from 14, 25, 38, 49, and 57. How many have I owned?
There's got to be significance to 57.
You would think so.
Yes.
But that's a trick question. The answer in June, when I put this on, was 49, which is quite a bit. Just ask Jennifer. But the thing is, it's not correct now because I picked up number 50 at the end of the month. So these are no longer any good. So no prices for anybody. A better shot. There you're sitting in that car. But then I took these to Roy Powers, who I see he's not here. And I'm always amazed at Roy. But he looks at this thing and immediately says that's a 1912 Hubmobile. 1912. So it sounds like a pretty early car. But this, again, was the first car in the town of Fabius. Except that, in talking with, there's some guy, Walter Dunn's grandson, who lives in Boston, comes back every parade, every May for the parade. Said, no, his grandfather told him the first car was a Metz. So maybe that was the first car in the town of Fabius. Oh, wait. My dad used to tell me about his first car, which was a 1910 Rio Roadster, which he was given by Kirkpatrick, farmer over here where McDonough lives, for picking cabbage. When my dad was 15, Kirkpatrick gave him a 1910 Rio Roadster as payment for picking cabbage. So, I guess I'll lay claim to that as the first car in the town of Fabius. And what do you think ever happened to that car? Same fate as Grandpa's Model T. The only thing left that I have to that car is a headlight. For some reason, they always tore the cars apart, he and Randall. And probably the big reason was because of gas mileage, because they drove it from the village up to where we live on Jerome Road, and it burned up a full tank of gas to get from here up on the hill. So nuts to that, so they cut it up. Anybody see any familiar people in there? No? Now if you look at the guy sitting on the rudder board over here to your right, you might be able to recognize the eyebrows because it runs in the family. Walt Knapp. Okay, Knapp, right. Ted's got the same eyebrows. That's Walt Knapp there. And we can work this thing. Up here. That is Don Knapp. That's Ted's father. Okay. And of course over here is Edward Knapp. Now, this is a 1914 Moyer. Okay. Very few of these around. A very big car, but the Knapps had one. They were made in Syracuse. A lot of the cars were made in the Syracuse area, but these were made by the Moyer Company in Syracuse. H.A. Moyer was a carriage factory, okay? And as time was going through into the new century, and then cars started coming along, carriage factories had to do what? They had to change what they did or go out of business because the cars were coming along. So they, like most companies, converted to making automobiles, and they were from 1910, I think it was, to 1915. Number one was January 1910, and the last car, which is number 399, was made in November of 1915. Knapp's car was serial number 320, so it was getting toward the end of the run. It was a 6-cylinder, most of them were 4 cylinders, but they were made in this factory here in Moyer. Now, you've probably, most of these buildings are gone except for one, and that's this building right here, and you've probably seen this building because of the little house on top. Anybody ever seen the factory with a house on top? Okay. Still there. And that's what it looks like today. So it's one of 3 buildings left, and that still has the house on top. Who knows this person? If you look at the ears, look at the face, you probably recognize that he's been around for a while. A little blurry, but that's because he's such in a hurry to get away from the picture, probably. This is Dwayne Skeel. Okay. Now, a lot of the stuff in this program I found to be like unsolved mysteries. A lot of different things, not, like the first car in the town of Fabius, who had the first car. But like this car the picture was dated Dwayne, 1922. So that would put him at 21 years old, except that when Roy looked at this picture, and the original picture has more of the car showing, but Roy said, well, that's a 1925 Chevy. So how could this car be dated 1922? So that's one of our mysteries. And I said, you sure it's 1925? He says, well, yeah, you look at the hub. The 24 had the hub out, and the 25 had the hub in, and, so he knew all that stuff. So Still, Dwayne was pretty young. I don't know where it was taken. It looked fairly new. Now, this picture was courtesy of Ivan and Mary Locke. Let me read it for you. It says, one of the first motor buses in central New York was owned and operated by C. Schoonmaker. It was a 16-passenger vehicle and ran between Fabius and Apulia Station. So this is in the Syracuse newspaper in January 1954, but there was a regular bus line running between the village of Fabius and Apulia Station. Most likely probably because of the train station, I would think. And trying to date that vehicle, we're looking at the license plate, blew it up. It says 1919, to give you an idea of when the time frame of this was. So, and you remember, of course I went to Main Street at Apulia Station. This was Porter's store. I guess Bill, that was a Rich's family, Rich Porter's family? Same family? Okay.
His uncle.
His uncle, okay. So that was Porter's store, and apparently they went to the train station and went back to Fabius with this bus line. And you remember me telling you about my dad's Rio Roadster. The reason why they didn't drive it was because why? Burn up too much gas. Well, I imagine that bus had the same problem, because I'll blow up in that picture. You see a gas pump right there. So there's a gas station right there at the Apulia Station, so I imagine that's where the bus got its gas. I had to gas up every trip, probably. Fabius Fire Department. This is a mid-20s Model T Ford fire engine. You see in the background the Fabius Baptist Church. Now, Charlie Shea was at our first meeting. He was able to rattle off who these people were. And one person that I knew, I didn't know any of these guys except for, he's over here, this guy right there, Harold Hall. Had the house next to the village Smith shop down here, Harold Hall. Anybody who went to Fabius years ago knew him as head mechanic for the bus garage. And he used to have a silver 57 Chevy, which I ended up buying for $10. So, no longer have it, of course. Now, I mentioned Walter Dunn's grandson coming back for the parade every year. We got pictures of a parade from Fabius, probably from the mid-20s. A lot of these cars I can't really identify, but hopefully that it rained quite a bit here before the parade, because otherwise this car is leaking a lot of fluids down there, so I'm hoping that was a rain. But some of the decorations on these cars, here's a early 20s Model T pickup in the parade. This was Edna Skeel's car, but you know she's not in the parade, she's running late for the parade. Parade started without her. Now if you look at this shot, the house on your left, anybody recognize where this was taken? That's Doc Gosner's house in the village. From this driveway, you're probably around Nancy, down that way. Carol, Nancy Carroll's place. Probably sitting in that driveway, shooting across the street there. Of course, I like this touring car here. That sign says winter, so they dolled up their touring car with probably some sort of white tissue to illustrate winter. I don't know, by the time I get to Memorial Day, I don't miss winter, but somebody did, or that was maybe the theme of it, because the car before that had white on it too. This thing apparently is a Graham's brother truck, and we were thinking that was Dwayne on there, although there were a bunch of hound dogs on there, so somebody was displaying their dogs. And in the background, of course, Shea's store, and I think that was Benedict's store before they combined them, put the addition in between there. Here comes Edna. She finally made the parade, except she's going the other way. That was a 25 Dodge. And the last float in that parade was for the senior citizens. Notice the rocking chair in there. Okay, this car, got the nice pictures from Aileen Coy. This is Aileen Coy's father, Gerald McPherson. He was about 21 years old at the time. This picture was taken in 1929. Now, best that Roy could determine, this was a Model T looking at the front of it, which you can't see here on the screen, but the body doesn't look quite right. But the thing about the Model Ts was that there were so many kits available on the market that you could alter your car. There are so many Model Ts, such a popular car. And one thing I forgot to mention about Knapp's Moyer car, that Moyer cost about $3,000. Model Ts at the time were around $700. $3,000, $700. So the Tin Lizzie was a pretty good deal. So there were a lot of them on the road, and people modified them, as did Bob Ossett. As a 1915 that he put a Speedster body on, a boat-tail Speedster. So anything to do to modify your car, customize your car to make it different from the other Model Ts on the road, because remember, they all look alike. And what color could you get in Model Ts? Black. Any color you want, as long as it's black. That's what Henry Ford said. So this is Greta Case and Ed Butler. Have no date on this, but that's a older Model T touring car there. Well, the first school buses. This probably is the first school bus that's on a Fabius. That's how it's been built. It is a, you can't see the radiator shell on it, but if you look at over this way, on top of the cowl, right about there is your filler cap for the gas tank. So that's Model A. But as Bob Ossett pointed out at our last session, this is a 1931 Model A school bus. And Bob, I think you said Dreyer bought two
Yes.
the Model A's at the same time. And this one was used down at Clark Hollow. So the old boys are all dressed spiffly with their knickers and all that. We get back to my dad. This is my dad in his 1926 Model T Roadster pickup. No, don't have it anymore, but this was shot behind the house he grew up in. That's still on the farm. And it's funny because he could not ever remember having this car. Yet you look at the background, you can tell our hill and the apple orchard behind our old homestead house. But no, of course my dad liked to argue, and Jennifer thinks that I like to argue.
No, not at all.
Not a bit. But anyway, he liked to argue, even though the hill in the background was our hill, and that's his orchards, and he's got the family profile on his head. No, that thing was him. And even though the back of the picture said in his mother's handwriting, Clarence Glasgow's first truck, he still didn't think that was him. Now, he did say that he did have these vent wings on open cars. You know, when you had a Roadster or touring car, you'd have these on, obviously to deflect the wind. But he said, other than that, I don't think that's my truck. Okay. Always have to have a wreck. Now this is my dad's car. This was, before I tell you what it is, you can't really see it that well, but this thing over here, I wish I could have the whole picture here, because this is exactly the same one. He moved it from one open car to the next open car. Nope, still don't remember the truck. Anyway, this was his 1928 Model A Roadster that he bought from Joe Pilcher, Jesse's older brother. And he was responding to a hay pile fire to a farmer up in Berwyn area. And it was the Collins and Chase Road intersection. And he met up with a pop bottle truck that was going from Cortland up to the Pompey Old Home days. And anyway, those are the days before stop signs on the back roads. And I think my dad got the worst of it, but the other guy got the ticket because in the days when there were no stop signs and you have an intersection, what was the rule? First come, first served. Really? Okay. So if my dad got hit by the truck, that means he was in the intersection first, so the other guy got the ticket. Proof. I do think, as a kid, I remember growing up, those vent wings are still in the barn. Edith Knapp, fuzzy picture, but taken in the winter time. See how high the snow is? That's against the Knapp house down there in 91. And my thoughts on this picture were that Model A's must have had real good heaters because she's got the window open in there. Anybody recognize that face? Mary Martin was my first grade teacher. Sandy, did you have her? You didn't have her, did you? Okay. My first grade teacher, and Roy looks at that picture, and the first thing he says, well, that's a 31 Chevy. Now, how do you determine that? He can't see hardly anything. Couldn't see the wheels, couldn't see the front, but that's a 31 Chevy. But there she is, kind of looking like a flapper a little bit, but in that Model A, in that 31 Chevy coupe. This is Aileen's dad again, 1935, and all the pictures that Aileen gave me, this is girls versus guys thinking. She didn't know what any of the cars were, so. We're unable to identify this car, but that was her dad in 1935, as well as, that's her family. That's her on the left. Let's see, it's Aileen, Janet, Ann, and Joyce, and that's their mom. But still don't know what the car is. Who's this? This is Mary Martin again. Well, next car. She always liked to have her picture taken with cars. And this was a brand new 37 Chevy. Not just one picture, but several pictures. This is a 1937 Oldsmobile. This was bought new by Bernard Rowley, who, lived up on Raleigh-Jerome Road, was a town supervisor. He bought it new. It was a brown car, two-door sedan, and it was used in Gene Terrell's wedding party. So he got escorted around from his wedding on that. And then 25 years later, in 1962, Bernard took Gene and Mabel on a tour around the countryside in this thing as a 25th anniversary gift in this car. And of course, why do I know so much about this car? Anybody see that plate down the bottom down there? Above the bumper? This was my first car. And there's proof. See? Took it from my bicycle, put it right on the front of the car. My dad bought that for me when I was 14 years old. And got my sister a 55 Oldsmobile for her first car. Anyway, I did not tear this apart. Yep. There's Mary Martin again in her 1940. Always had lots of pictures of her with a car, and there she is in the same 1940 Chevy, different pose, different time. This is John Coy's grandparents, Elbros, Alice and Irving Albro, down in Miss Corners Road. This picture was dated October 1st, 1944. They had a farm, and they also hauled milk and cabbage in addition to their farming. So they had a little trucking business there. It looks like a Dodge truck to me. This is John Coy, taken in 1948. This is his 39 Chevy. Not a good shot of John. So if we're progressing time, this is John's 1947 Chevy. Looks pretty clean. I don't know if that water underneath is where he just washed it or he's driving through a mud puddle. Mary Martin again. She and Tom in their 47 Chevy. So you need to document your family. Whenever you get cars, and Early you probably do this because you're a car guy too. I don't know if you take pictures yourself or not with the cars. Remember when there was a used car lot in the village of Fabius? Bob Nash. In our first session, we had some people who actually bought cars from Bob Nash. This car, see, this was Aileen's sister Janet and husband Paul Palmer's car. It's a 1950 Buick that they bought brand new. They bought it from the factory in Detroit and drove it home. And that was not uncommon at the time to buy cars right from the factory, you know, bypass the dealership. Can't do that today. This is a 1951 Nash Rambler. That's Joyce and Eva Newman, you know, Aileen's sister. She's off the side. But John said he paid $20 for that car, brought it home, and they never used it after that. So I think they parked it behind the barn, and the elements of nature took its toll. Dick Hurley, this brand new 50 Chevy convertible. Fender skirts. Just like Bob Oss on his cars. Every car that he had, he tried to get fender skirts on it. I remember that. If they made it for him, he got fender skirts for him. Now, that's Dick Hurley with his Model T. We are going to have a second session of this probably in November or December of other pictures I've collected, and we'll probably talk more about people in the village and their cars, even cars that they had now. Now, as you look at this, I think it's a 26 or 27 Model T, but people don't know, well, how long has he had this car? You know, we like to look at early cars in Fabius, and what you've seen are the cars that were early in Fabius for residents. But what about the cars and such that people have had for years and years and years? You know, you'll find out how long Dick Hurley's had that. You also learn about some other people from Fabius who had experience with old cars, and not just in Fabius. Of course, if you look closely, you'll tell this was not taken in Fabius. Although there used to be palm trees on Back Street, right? I think. So this could grow. This could turn into like the Star Wars trilogy, you know? They have more car programs, so we'll see. Now, you need to document your family cars, okay? Pass them down, because this guy on your left used to have all brown hair, and the guy in the middle here, I had to get him in front of one of the cars. This guy now is 6'7", and he's a sophomore at RIT, so document this for family history. And of course, the family shot taken into the front yard, very colorful. Number 1, let's see, number 16, I forget the numbers of these cars. Family portrait, that was taken about 10, 12 years ago. So, I'd like to thank these people, and well, I'd like to ask of you people if you have any pictures of cars, early Fabius, that we could add to our next presentation. That'd be very much appreciated. Or if you do some of the people in these shots that we need to identify, please come see me. But other than that, I want to thank you for coming.
That Model T, 26 Model T Ford, I knew the fellow that bought that brand new down in Lincoln. His name was Charlie Warner. And Max Swan bought the car from him. And Charlie Hayes bought it from Max Swan.
My dad bought it from Max Swan. Charlie Warner was related to the
Charlie Warner down in Lincoln.
On Lakeland.
Yep.
Do Hurley he still have that?
I think so. Until just a couple of years ago, they came over and got a coil from me that was skipped, and I gave them a coil.
Oh, you talking about Hurley's Model T?
Yeah. It's a 26 or 27, I can't tell you which. There wasn't much difference in those two cars. That was the last of the Model T, the 27. And 28 came along with the Model A. You tell the 28 Model A because the emergency brake was on the left-hand side right where the old Model T was. And then the next year they changed them, put them over next to shift.
And the 28 had the red steering wheel, right?
Yep.
The roll steering wheel.
Yep.
And the 27 had a single windshield, right? 26
Yep.
had a split windshield?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's got a split windshield, so that's probably a 26.
It probably was. I know I tried to buy the car from Charlie Warner, and then I tried to buy it again from Max Swan, and I just didn't have that kind of money to come up with it.
Thank you for coming.
Very good.